AirWreckRadio.com.
Again, they heard that things were happening. With mics in front of faces, their lips begin to flatten. They talk about the world and local news reports, and if it's a slow week, they may even hear some sports. They'll tell you all about the fall of Western civilization, the popularization of deregulation, the conspiratory allegory wars, and what we're losing when you're cruising through the news. The truth can be a bit elusive. Cory says, man, it's a goddamn joke. It's quick pro de facto, this democracy's a hoax. Some say the system's rigged, it's supposed to be. That's how they keep the power in dichotomocracy. Stacey says we gotta learn to think a little deeper. The symptoms of our problems hide the causes from our peepers. The merchants hook out, try to obfuscate the truth, doing whatever they can to keep the future from our youth. In these troubled times, it's hard to know just what to do, but if you stick around, we'll try to help to get you through. So go get a bowl, a spoon, and some cereal, and sit yourself down. It's time for AirWreck Radio.
It is the 15th day of December in the year 2017. I'm Cory. And this is AirWreck Radio. Thank you for joining us yet again, our loyalist of Wreckheads. And we know you are the loyalist of Wreckheads because we are El Pato fucking Casto.
I'm here too.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
I thought I was doing another one of those introducing a clip show.
I froze, man. I didn't
It's
have
cool.
anything.
I just, you know how many times I've done that intro and paused for the couch gag that wasn't there because you weren't with me when I was recording production.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. That's why I was able, I can beat it out perfectly.
Yeah, I had nothing for this one. I'm sorry to tell you.
Silence works, bro.
Here's the thing, man. Coming up with couch gags is hard, and I was really really focused on making sure that I was able to put our best foot forward with Rachel tonight on the radio show.
Good thing that all the technology worked out for us.
Yes, thank you, Facebook.
Thank you, technology. We are top of our broadcasting game, and the technology breaks down.
Thanks, Facebook. You did a great job there of failing 3 times during the most important interview
we've done on the radio.
We've ever done on the radio. We're really looking forward to this. And the interview went great.
Yeah, went wonderfully.
With any luck, we will be able to recover the audio. Listeners,
listen, it's a good thing that we were in the situation we were in because I was able to chase the problem during the show and get what we have. Because if those problems,
what the fuck you were doing.
If those problems had happened during just one of our shows on the radio, no, nothing. We'd have no audio, we'd have no video, we'd have nothing.
I was wondering the entire time
why I kept having to bounce back and forth.
What you were doing because
shit was breaking down, bro.
Yeah, because you I was like, oh man, Cory's really letting me run this, but then you were moving around so much. It was like Cory's really trying to look busy.
No, he's not. Cory's actually busy and thankful Stacey's running this right now.
I was looking forward to that interview so much.
At some point, I don't know if the listeners will notice. You certainly, I know you noticed. At some point, I had gotten everything figured out. I gotten all the tech under control and everything rolling, and I was able to join the conversation.
I did notice when you came back, I was like, okay, whatever Cory was pretending to do must be done by now.
And I came back and joined the conversation.
It was a good interview, listeners. I hope that you get the audio for the listeners who don't. For the listeners who don't know who Rachel Barnhart is, Rachel Barnhart.
Shame on you.
Well, they might not be local, and if you're not local, you're not going to know her because she's very local, very active person. She's a former newscaster on a local ABC affiliate. She runs a website called Rochester for All, which is a PAC that's
getting political action committee.
Yeah, that's getting started. They want a watchdog on who's being bad in government because boy,
we need it.
There's a lot of bad in government.
They used to be the journalists, which is funny how she's the one who came up with this idea. They used to be the journalists. The journalists were the watchdogs until 24-hour cable television became the norm, and now it's all entertainment news.
I wish we'd had more time to talk because so she attributed, and I don't want to argue with her while she's not here, but that'll
get to my next point.
She had attributed media biased from doing like good stories instead of what they do now, which is all scandal. Oh, this scandal happened. This scandal happened.
Yeah, I had the same objection.
Her point was that it was resource and not conspiracy. And I'm like, it's not conspiracy to be like, it's resource, but it's more than just it's resource. It's very cheap to print a scandal.
It's not conspiracy to look at the facts and say, well, they're in the business of rating, so they're going to do what sells.
But I really don't want to argue with her while she's not in the room.
So that's what my point is now that we've touched base with her again, she remembers us, we have a relationship going on, maybe we should invite her to pod sometime where we can do long form and get into some details.
Nothing, I think, is going to make Rachel Barnhart more comfortable than being invited to my garage in this low lighting.
We would crank the lighting up a little bit and invite another
stop.
female.
We will invite her once we've had her on a couple of times. If she comes on again, you know,
that's what we're saying. And then we can get into some details. If we can pod, we can do 2 hours and get into it.
I want to get Russ and Heather back from.
I would love to. I love those guys.
From Sound of Tomorrow. While we're wasting our listeners' time.
We're wasting our own time at this point.
This is what you get on the podcast now,
Sorry,
guys.
I don't know what happened.
Hey, here's the thing. It's not going to be around much longer. You know why?
Net neutrality.
2 things happened this week. And also probably a million other things, but we're not going to cover them because, sorry.
It's not what we do here.
I don't know. We're just as focused on the bullshit as you. Sorry.
It makes me because even you and I and everyone we know are so enthralled in the net neutrality debate. It makes me wonder what else is happening.
My friend, so I was listening to a brand new book, which I am going to talk about tonight because it was a great book. It was a real.
Is this going to be the Stacey lectures Cory about the book only he read segment of the show?
No, it's a sci-fi book, Cory. You're
all right,
I
can play along.
You're going to enjoy it.
Okay.
I'm selling you on this book, but so I was listening.
You know how many books you sold me by saying, "Hey, read this book"?
I know. Some Audible book source company should like pay us, and I would do a segment every week
for ridiculously low amounts of money.
For just a very little bit of money,
tiny bits of money,
just enough to keep us in the fast lane because that's coming.
And we'd like to buy a camera, camera in the fast lane.
So yesterday, I started my day. I was listening to a book called "Our Political Nature," which is a book I put down because it was too heavy. Not because it was like hard to understand. It was
it was physically too heavy to lift and carry around with you all day. I understand. It's a tiring
there was
thing.
Like this guy who narrated it. I had to carry him around.
So it wasn't like it was a 600-page book. It was a 200-pound man.
It was a man
reading me a book.
And if I ever put him down, it was as if I paused him. Got in the way at work.
It didn't get me anywhere.
It was it's about this is not the book I'm selling at you.
I'm sorry. If I were obscenely rich, I would just pay Dan Hogan to follow me around and read me books. I'm sorry, go on.
So I was listening to Our Political Nature, which is a book about the evil.
Our Political Nature?
That's a little on the nose. I was going to like break it down a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I
just wanted to be on the same page.
It talks about how the guidelines of evolution have brought us to where we are in our political views, where, you know, it talks about the benefits of being religious versus the benefits of being a-religious. And it's very scientific. It's done from a very scientific standpoint. It uses a thing called the right-wing adjacency test or something like that, RWA.
What?
And
this sounds like some liberal news media snowflake bullshit.
That's fine. Go ahead and think that. And kindly fuck off because
just because the name, relax.
I know I wasn't telling you personally. I was saying anybody who was thinking that just now, being like, "Oh, here we go." Yeah, it's heavy, and it makes you very terrified when you realize like why right-wing people are so more easy to get excited than left-wing people, because like I know a lot of left-leaning people who are apolitical because that's their privilege and they don't know it, and even if they do know it, they don't want to address it, and that's very frustrating because I like these people, but when they let democracy really suck, annoying. It makes me mad. And I've been reading this shit for all goddamn year, and I was reading this book and I was like, you know, I can't take it anymore. All the podcasts, all the everything is just this grossness that has happened to us over the past
Year.
No. This is the culmination.
I understand, Stacey. I was going for
You ever had a pimple?
Yuma.
That was
no,
like,
not me, Stacey.
That
never.
was like deep under your skin, and you knew it was there.
Is this an allegory for me?
And you wanted to pop it, but you couldn't pop it because it was too deep, and it would have just taken too much to pop.
This is definitely an allegory.
And
for
then,
me.
like, that pimple is 9/11. And then, you get to like 16 years later,
That's
and it comes
really
to a
depressing
head.
Pimple, Stacey.
I know.
Holy shit.
I know. And then 16 years later, it comes to a head, and everything in the media is all the head of the pimple. The head of the pimple did this. The head of the pimple said that. The head of the pimple said that. The
Head of the Pimple won't stop tweeting.
The president of Pimpleton said, well, I grab them by the pussies, and then I sexually harass them some more because I'm a terrible human being with no empathy whatsoever.
Pimpleton McRogaine.
Anyway, I couldn't take it anymore.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Sorry.
So I went into my
newsroom, folks. Check it out.
I went into my Audible library, Cory, and I found a book, which this was not where I was going when we started this, but
who gives a shit?
Here we are. We were talking about net neutrality, sort of, but everybody. Oh, so here's the thing. All right, no, I'm going to get back there. Hold on. I'll get back there. Oh, I found my road again. So I quit reading this book. Our political nature. It's a very interesting book. It's very well researched. It's good numbers. Go check it out. But Jesus Christ, it is 14 or 19 hours of and this is why the future is bound to suck. And this is why the future is bound to suck. And it's just kind of depressing.
So I am both, I kind of feel you on that because I get that same thing from pretty much anything that I'm exposed to now is this is why the future is going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two thoughts that I have there. One, as Star Trek fans, that is wholly depressing to us.
Yes.
Because
truth,
future
serum.
Supposed to be good.
Yeah, I was told. I was told that I would have some privilege. I'm here to collect my privilege.
I was told that there would be no more hunger.
Yeah, like not my privilege. Like everybody, I just thought that everybody would have that.
It was supposed to move forward.
It failing right now, but not forever. Not forever. So I quit this book and I found this great sci-fi book.
Forget the rest of my point.
Oh, no,
go ahead.
No, I'm pretty sure we're going to get there.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the book yet. So I get into this book and it is great. And I'm going to talk about it, but not right now. So I get into it.
Your book.
I get into it and it's great. I'm really enjoying this book. It's taken me out, but it's got a little bit of like, and then America was taken over by religious retards.
And then
I shouldn't have said that.
I humbly apologize.
Don't
apologize, Stacey. You did nothing wrong.
No, I'm not apologizing. I'm saying I shouldn't have said that.
No, you should not have said that.
And we need new vernacular for people who I disagree with vehemently because science. But anyway, America gets taken over by
if we were 12, that's so gay.
And I was like, America gets taken over by evangelical guy who tanks the economy, and then an atheist gets elected, and then a coup happens because the evangelicals are so pissed off that an atheist got elected after their guy tanked the economy. Because here's the thing, they don't tend to know how the right wing people, they don't know how to grow an economy. I don't know if you know that or not, but it's the truth.
Stacey.
Yes, Cory.
They have been preaching this same trickle-down economic bullshit since the late 70s, early 80s.
Yes, and every time they win, the economy shrinks.
It doesn't work. Proven every 8 years or so.
So the book gets into this part, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the book I just left. Only this one's sci-fi and funny and also very intelligent so far. But it was still like,
it's the same point with a little bit of entertainment attached to it.
And then
it's infotainment.
And then it started it got over that quickly and started to pick up. I mean, even though that was part of it for a good story reason, but it was like hyper salient to me because I was like, I just quit because I couldn't handle this religion and politics thing. And here it is causing an apocalyptic situation. The book continues and I'm real into it. And my buddy that I work with comes over. It's like
the book continues, but we won't. That is the end of our show.
It's like 2 in the afternoon, and my buddy comes over and he was like, "Hey, man,
what is that's a song lyric, you asshole?
Did you hear that they killed net neutrality?" And I was like, "Yeah, 3 weeks ago I fucking heard that."
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't news. Today was the vote. Everybody knew how that vote was going to go.
We called that several weeks ago when we went, well, we have to call and write our Congress and senators again about net neutrality, but this time it's not going to work. And we were right, Stacey.
Well,
I think I did more predicting than you did, but you did not disagree with my predictions.
Here's the thing.
Can I get a little bit of
Absolutely. It's not that it didn't work.
Make it brown again. Thank you. Okay, that's good.
It's not that. Listeners, if you were wondering why I just lost my train of thought, I was pouring drinks. It's
cocktails.
Podcast.
Yeah, it's cocktail
fluid.
Flat.
We had predicted that net neutrality was getting the kibosh weeks and weeks ago.
At least that the FCC was going to try to vote
because there was no reason to think anything other than. So when my friend was like, "Oh man, did you hear about net neutrality today?" And I was like, "Yeah, what am I supposed to be sad about that? I fucking knew that was coming, but thanks for bringing me down a little bit."
Fighting this fight for 6 years.
Like, this is my boy who's always talking to me about Star Trek. Or Star Wars. I'm sorry, Star Wars.
Oh, now I know who it is.
He's a Star Wars guy. He's always talking to me about Star Wars. We talk Marvel. He's a good friend of mine. He's I'm
pretty sure I know who it is. And he's an excellent dude.
But
the highest caliber dude.
Yeah, oh, totally. But
sure.
he never wants to talk politics very often.
Well, he's a Star Wars fan.
And today
the whole show's politics. I'm sorry.
Yesterday he comes over and he's like, "Oh, did you hear about net neutrality?" And I was like, "Oh, God damn it!" I had to pause my book, my sci-fi book that I was really into.
Dog, I got to tell you.
And then I had to be like, "This is probably the last audio book I'll ever be able to buy. Thanks, net neutrality." But I know that that's not true.
It's a little extreme.
Because just because they've voted doesn't mean they've implemented anything yet. This has got to go through the courts. Congress could still fix it. I mean, the
Supreme Court could still fix it.
The Supreme Court won't, but
I know, and they're the ones that would have the best chance of just solving.
So here's the thing. This is an important point. This brings
they could just make it a legislative issue, call it constitutional, and guess what? Wrap.
This is what brings up the crucial point about net neutrality, because I know there's a lot of people out there who have been fighting very hard against the repeal of net neutrality, and I agree with those people wholeheartedly. But their fervor and terror over this, I think, I don't want to say that it's overstated, but it is. It
is overstated.
It neglects the value of checks and balances that we have in this country, which you can see working every single day now.
So what's happening is the same thing that happened during the election. And that is that you oversell the fear to your base so that they're so terrified they won't even question your position. And now I'm not talking, and everyone's thinking, oh, he's shitting on the GOP. I'm talking about the stupid fucking Democrats this time. You oversell your position. He's going to win.
I think you might be overselling your position by calling our allies stupid.
I mean, I did it.
I know.
When I had a microphone in front of my face and I consciously said out loud, he's going to win. He's going to win. He's going to win in an attempt to scare people into voting.
Yeah, didn't work.
It did. People voted.
Sure. All right. Yes. Yeah. Actually, did work. It lost the popular election.
Just not how elections work in this country for that office. It's just
kind of weird.
But it's not weird because at the time
it's very weird because it only works for one class of elected candidate.
Well, if you can,
I know, at the
put
time,
yourself into the time, it seems like I could see their perspective that this seems like it makes sense.
Here's why I can't put myself in the time,
because we live in 2017.
Hold on.
We live in the future.
Hold on. Let me give you a juxtaposition.
All right.
Why I can't
juxtaposition.
Thank you. Here's why I can't put myself in the time of the framers, and neither the fuck can anybody else.
No, I'm pretending.
Hold on, I know you are, but this is a point that our opponents make. Is like, oh, the framers intended on certain issues.
Oh, number two. You mean number two?
I mean, anytime somebody says the framers objected, here's what the framers didn't have: screen windows.
This makes me laugh.
Think about the difference in lifestyle that meant. Screen windows. You know how much malaria was prevented by screen windows?
Stacey, do you know one of the single cogs of the leap of the human lifespan? Iceboxes.
Do you know what they didn't have when they were the framers of the Constitution, Cory?
Iceboxes.
Toilet paper.
Yeah, there's no refrigerators. There's no house-to-house electricity.
Flushing toilets.
There's none of it.
Screw all that electric stuff.
This was
just
pioneer shit.
These people they lived in log cabins. This is, for me, it's like what I mean, they were brilliant in their way. For sure. I'm not trying to detract from the framers because certainly I'm going to use them as an argumentative tool sometimes too. But
they were absolutely brilliant for their era.
Yeah. And well positioned.
Well, and compound. So this conversation. This is fun actually because I had this conversation recently and it ties back to some really campy comic book TV shows that I've been watching.
Okay.
But human knowledge grows with every generation.
Yeah.
So if you were to be able to transport back into time 3 or 4 generations with your base knowledge.
Oh my God.
You would be
burned as a witch.
For sure. Or burned as a witch. You'd be an absolute genius compared to the times.
That's very correct of you to say.
So the founding fathers were very, 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 very bright for their time.
Right.
But they basically have the same base knowledge as our school children.
Like, you can't help but not blame them for not including homosexual rights in their initial Bill of Rights. It was the first swing.
It was the first swing, and none of them thought that it was going to be an issue that they looked to put the peaches in their mouth when nobody was looking. Come on, it's not like there weren't any gays. It's not like none of the founding fathers. You can't tell me none of the founding fathers know the taste of peni.
Bro, those guys wear wigs. That's not a butch thing to do, but the fashions were different. I mean,
it's just because gay people have always existed.
But they've never had any power.
No.
Especially not 300 years ago.
You lived in the shadows.
Or 250 years ago, whatever it was.
There's some rumors about old Ben Frankie.
Yo, that dude was a freak.
There's some rumors about old Abe Lincoln, too.
Who cares? You know who cares? You know what? I take that back.
Apparently I do because I retained that information.
No, here's the thing. I shouldn't. Who cares that? Because that's like dismissing.
Stupid.
It's like it's dismissing evidence of homosexuality in the power structure. And I think that there's some homosexual people out there who would like us to stop whitewashing our history of straightwashing our history.
I think I just started to try to point out gay historical figures.
I know,
or at least people with
and
rumors.
I immediately was like, "Who cares?" But that's not the right way to respond to that because that's gay washing.
So this is fun.
What I just did
was gay washing for sure, but that doesn't necessarily
straight washing. Straight washing.
That doesn't
they don't
necessarily
call it black
make
washing.
you bigot. And here's why.
Thank God.
I get to do this conversation, and you know how much I love this conversation. Context and syntax.
Please mansplain something to me.
The words, that's what their show is.
I know.
Our whole fucking show.
I know. You didn't have to respond to that.
You made that summary, and I've been using it as the or statement. So the official tagline that's been up for years. Politics positive, forum, open,
big words, big words, big words.
Two white guys mansplaining the news, possibly incorrectly.
Sounds about right.
And we were talking about Abe Lincoln, power struggle. Oh, you weren't necessarily wrong for saying who cares contextually, because obviously people care and we should care, and it's a thing it should be an important thing.
Well, it's a thing that we shouldn't.
In this conversation, it shouldn't matter that these figures were gay.
It's a thing we shouldn't have to care about, but because we absolutely don't care, like because there was an effort put on making sure that people didn't care about it, it seems like you have to push back against that because that's what straight washing is. Like just like whitewashing is you take the historic black characters and you don't tell their stories. You tell the white ones. You see that in media with Asian characters a lot here. We whitewash Asian characters and Asian storylines
terribly.
So you watch Rick and Morty
I've
occasionally?
caught a handful of episodes. And I'm not against it.
That was a yes or no
looks
question.
Great.
But go ahead and
So the
talk
answer's
some more.
no, because I couldn't.
All right, now shut up. I'm sorry.
Really hard to yes and after shut up.
No, I know that was an order.
It's a great show. I love it. It made me laugh. It's just I haven't gotten to it.
I understand. That's fine. Did you see Pickle Rick?
Yes, I saw Pickle Rick because it was the episode of the season.
Okay, so Dr. Wong at the end, the psychologist who like owned Rick, was written by an Asian writer named Jessica Gao, and
I knew this.
And she had written that character to be an Asian character, and Dan Harmon had an opportunity to have Susan Sarandon, and he didn't know.
Whatever character's got to be Susan Sarandon's character.
That was it. He was like, Susan Sarandon wants to do it.
So here's where human beings and decision making are complicated and nuanced. Technically, did he whitewash something and make it? I mean, was that kind of a racist thing to do?
I don't know if it was racist, but racist is a term that covers a spectrum, and we don't have words for the things in the spectrum.
Biggity?
Privilegey.
Privilegey? Okay, I like privilegey.
I don't think it was biggity. Biggity.
Let's go racing, boys.
Oh my God, NASCAR's racist? I had no idea.
I'm sorry, DW. Whoa.
Whoa. So biggity implies malice.
Privilegey was good.
Whereas privilegey seems to be more innocuous. So I would call it privilegey, what Dan Harmon did, because he didn't give it a second thought. He was like, "Oh, Susan Sarandon wants to be a character."
But on the other side of that, I mean, we got an A-lister who wants to talk. We find her something,
right?
Anything. I don't care what it is. Find it for her.
That's correct.
Call.
That's exactly right. There's an empty character there. We need a voice. Susan Sarandon wants to be a voice. Well, she can do that. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that faux pas, a new podcast has been born, and it is called Whiting Wongs. I see that you have not heard of this podcast.
Oh my God, but does that make me so happy?
That's what it's called.
And this is from like the Asian people, man.
It's Dan Harmon and Jessica Gao.
Joking about the fact that he whitewashed.
No, they talk. I mean, that was the first episode, but they talk about race issues and race relations and like, listen, man, sometimes I'm not going to lie. Sometimes this podcast gets a little like, I don't agree with everything they say.
I don't agree with everything anybody says.
Right. Exactly. But
I am my own man.
It does give me a fresh perspective that I couldn't have possibly examined without the aid of this podcast, thanks to the provisions for net neutrality and the ability for me that I have to access that sort of information.
It sounds
passive.
Podcasts are awesome because it's passive.
You just find one and you branch out from it. Mm-hmm. You find some others. You talk to your friends. Hey, man, do you listen to how many podcasts do we share? Probably 30% of our podcast stream is shared.
Is it back? Yeah. Well, it's a good call.
But
only one of them, really, in the grand scheme of things, was because we were both going to listen to that anyways, no matter what. And that was Rogan was in the stream no matter what.
But another 70% of our podcast streams are totally our own interests.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they're different. And
like we both have Radiolab,
and the ability. I never listened to it.
I love Radiolab. It's the best.
I've never listened to a Radiolab I didn't love, but their descriptions don't get me.
So to sound like the biggest asshole ever, I was a bigger fan of their earlier work.
Oh, gross.
There's just been the span.
Tell me more about how Radiolab sold out.
There's just been the span the last couple of months that they haven't been putting out stories that tickle my fancy as much as they had in the past.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of fucking DC comic book TV shows. And we do a lot of Marvel talk here.
Oh.
DC. I think I watched Supergirl.
You've been watching
I watched the
Archer.
first 2 seasons.
No, not Archer. Arrow.
I watched the first 2 seasons of
How
Supergirl.
pissed off were they that like Archer was taken?
by a superior show.
Archer's a dope show.
It's superior to fucking Arrow for sure. I mean, let me get there.
Archer, the cartoon, right?
Yeah,
We're talking
way
the
superior
spy
to
cartoon.
Arrow, the stupid Green Arrow TV show with Oliver Queen.
I agree with that statement.
Way superior.
It's so entertaining.
That's what I'm saying. And then I've really been digging the DC comic book TV shows because they're exactly what I want when I want some superheroes.
They are a little gitchy, but like you want that a little bit. Yeah, it's a comic book. It's not a movie. It's a TV show.
So that feeling I get when I want to watch a Marvel movie, but I don't want to sit through a fucking Marvel movie.
Right.
I've seen them all. I go to the movies. Blah blah blah. I watch one of these DC TV shows because they're very comic booky, and I've been really fucking digging it. You gotta accept. As a Star Trek fan, I can too. You gotta accept that they're not all gonna be bright, shining fucking eggs. There's gonna be some turkeys.
Eggs don't shine, Cory.
Golden eggs.
Okay.
There are gonna be some fucking turkeys in these groups. Look at the storylines we're dealing with. But because DC is so campy and so hokey with it, and so willing to just
commit
comic book stuff and put it on the television, even though it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
They're like, yeah, this is the 4th bad episode in a row, but there's 30 episodes this season.
Shit, who cares?
Right.
I've been loving these shows. I'm on The Flash right now. The first 5 episodes of this show, rough.
I couldn't make it through.
Rough. I got past them. I just began the second season. Fantastic. Now I'm all in. I can't wait to find out the next carrot that they dangled in front of me. But it took them a little while to figure out how to dangle the carrot.
Honest Trailers.
Instead of telling me the story.
Do you know Honest Trailers?
I love Honest Trailers.
Me too.
Oh, God. What I love
I watch it with my kids, and the whole time I'm like, God, don't say anything inappropriate.
What I love most from those are when they do movies that I loved.
And kill them.
Like exactly. When they destroy movies I hated, I was like, yeah, I know. I hated that movie.
That shit was ridiculous.
But when he
God damn it. What was that DC villains movie? Give me the name.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad was like a fucking slot machine. You just fucking sat there. They could make a slot machine and they would make
helicopter crashes.
You just fucking
0 casualties.
You win on a helicopter crash. But the rest
3
is like
helicopter crashes and you win. Jackpot.
Just fancy fucking video. God, that movie
fucked up so bad because what they could have done in this very unique fucking climate is the Harley Quinn Joker origin, like the Harley Quinn origin story.
Yeah.
Joker comes into the fucking Arkham and he turns Dr. Harleen Quinlan into Harley Quinn.
You know what though? Jared Leto's not that Joker.
With Jared Leto, and he's not that Joker. You know why?
Because he's only the Joker. The problem is that Jared Leto is only the Joker.
But watching Mark Hamill do it in the cartoon to Harley was a thing of fucking genius.
Yeah, cartoon genius. But you have lowered expectations in a cartoon.
Of course, yeah. Cartoons are easier for suspension of disbelief.
You watch
because
Gotham?
They don't look like you? Yes. I'm not caught up, though.
I'm not either.
I'm like a season and a half
But
behind.
you've seen the Joker episode with the kid from
yes.
Shit.
They explain.
What's the show with the poor people in Chicago?
Is that the Shameless show that
Shameless? Yes. Yeah.
It's on the list. I'm not there yet.
The gay kid from Shameless is the Joker. And he is a crazy good Joker.
Perfect.
And it is unfortunate that they ended his character arc so quick.
But they didn't.
But I saw that he came back once.
Well, what they did was, so in DC lore, classically, Joker has no true origin story. There's been several stories
which is
told.
Fine, but that means you can tell more stories.
What they did here was kind of give you the explanation as to why Joker has no origin stories, because he's dead. The person that was the Joker died publicly.
Mm-hmm.
So this person that exists now that's running around has no identity, which is why they can never give him a backstory. Why Batman can never get any history on him to do any goddamn prep on this asshole, because he doesn't have a backstory. He can't find where it went. And they did that in Gotham. They killed him publicly so that kid is no longer on the radar. I thought they did a brilliant job.
Do you know what I just thought of that I think would be awesome? What was that? You remember on the old Smodcasts that don't come out anymore when Kevin and Scott would do that Twitter of the police? What was that Twitter called?
Oh my God! It was
the Canadian Royal RCP.
Was it Mounted Police? Was it the Royal Canadian Mounted Police?
I don't think it was RCMP. Was it RCMP?
Oh, the official name is the Royal
RCMP.
Canadian Mounted Police.
It was RCMP.
The official name of the Mounties.
RCMP. This is the TV show I want. RCMP : Logan.
Whoa, you shouldn't be doing that, eh? You need to settle down, sir.
It's like a more polite Walker Texas Ranger, except for the polite Ranger is Logan. So it's time to be polite right until it's not time to be
stabby.
Polite. like it's like the Royal Canadian. It's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police meet Roadhouse.
You got 3 Mounties. You got 2 Mounties that pull up and get off in their classic Mounties. Oh, sir, you better slow down, eh? That's not very appropriate, and we're going to have to arrest you, eh? And then comes the 3rd Mountie,
the bad cop,
Logan.
Listen, bub,
you better fucking knock it off.
I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah, this one's from the States, eh? And he's
a Canadian.
But he came back.
No, this is before Weapon X.
Oh, this is before Weapon X. This is just Logan as whatever his real name is.
Just whatever he was before that. Like, what if he was like a nice guy? What if he was the cop from Stranger Things? Just some doofy, chubby guy who has claws. Cooper. Yeah, Cooper. I shouldn't call Cooper chubby because he's not. He's slightly just a big, chubbier than I am.
He's just a big guy. And
also like a 1.5 feet taller.
It's just because he's only ever in the same scene with an 11-year-old.
And they always shoot him from an 11-year-old's perspective.
So he looks like a giant.
They do that in that show. They shoot from a child's perspective frequently.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing.
So that's one of the things, speaking of Stranger Things, that's one of the things that I've been really digging about both Supergirl and Flash, is that I've been getting a lot of the Stranger Things vibe as far as homage. The difference being Stranger Things is written and directed and produced by geniuses who can very subtly turn the story into these little things that make you go, alien. It's not with these comic book shows, right? So those homages are there, but they're so punch you in the mouth.
Yeah, like, oh, this is that thing from that comic book you read once.
Like the doctor lady in Flash says, damn it, I'm a doctor, not a mechanical engineer or something along those lines.
Now somebody get these tribbles out of here.
It's like she said it, I went inside my heart, went, yes!
But at the same time,
I realized that I had been duped into this nostalgia thing, but I like it.
So this goes to this book that I was not talking about earlier, but now I'm ready to talk about, if you don't mind. So I was entirely fed up with this book that I talked about earlier, the other book that I talked about earlier.
The boring one, not the science fiction one.
Not boring, but just so hopeless.
Heavy.
And maybe it's because I haven't finished it yet. I'm only 2/3 of the way through it, and it was very depressing. But also very informative about why it's very depressing. I quit that book and I looked on my Audible for my recommendations and I found We Are Legion, We Are Bob by Denise or Dennis. Dennis? Is that Dennis?
Let me see.
Dennis.
2 N's is Dennis.
It's written as if it were written by a man. It sounds like a man.
2 N's is Dennis. 1 N is Denise.
Dennis E. Taylor's book, We Are Legion, We Are Bob. Folks, I got to tell you.
Like, We Are Legion is a scary motherfucker comic book relation. So what are you stealing off here, my friend?
Everything.
We Are Legion. Stupid Ghost Rider. That movie was terrible.
I want to break it down for you.
Such a good bad guy.
You're going to enjoy this book, Cory. Okay. Because I know you're going to end up listening to this book.
If you tell me to listen to the book, I listen to the book.
You're going to do this one.
All right.
Bob is a software engineer And he has a software company that he has recently sold to a larger firm and made enough to retire on.
Yes. Good
Cashed
job, Bob.
it in. He's at a...
Bob nailed it.
So he is in... The book opens and he's in Nevada, in Las Vegas.
All right.
For like some kind of sci-fi convention.
So we're on the strip. We got some bright lights. We're having a good time. We got hookers. We got buffets. There's some gambling.
Not so much hookers. There's not enough time
Not
for that.
for him, but just this is Vegas. I'm setting the scene for Vegas.
So he's in Vegas at something akin to a Comic Con, and he goes and he goes and watches a panel about Van Neumann probes and panspermia. So that I think is two words that I should probably define. Van Neumann probe is an ideal. It's a space probe. You launch it into space and it has everything on board it needs to explore the galaxy and make more of itself. So it goes to a solar system and then it harvests raw materials and it makes another one of itself. And now those two go to other solar systems. They do surveys. They harvest raw materials. They make 4 more of themselves. Those 4 go and they make 8 more of themselves. And then 16, 32.
It's the goddamn Borg.
It's not quite. So he makes that joke.
Really?
Totes.
I mean, like, so it's not quite the Borg because they don't assimilate people. But at that rate of replication, there'll be nothing but them very quickly.
So that's the idea behind the Van Neumann probe.
That's what I didn't know. Panspermia, I knew.
Panspermia, for people who don't know, is the idea that like, so you have like, it takes a long
filthy alien.
It takes a long time for a planet to form.
Yes.
And settle down into something that biological life can grow on. But the panspermia
like 9
idea,
9 billion years, as far as we know.
The panspermia idea is that the foundational biological elements can combine in space in various. There's a lot of different ways in which the things that make up the particle, the molecules that make up DNA. The G's and the A's and the T's and the C's, those things can be made up in space and they can combine through happenstance on a planet's surface, but they can be made up in space while planets are forming.
Stacey, are you telling me that every single tiniest of the tiniest of the tiniest of the unexplored and unexplainable tiniest building blocks inside of my body came from the cosmos? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
I mean, that's part of what I'm trying to say to you. It is a part of it.
Yeah, of course. Your DNA would be replicatable other places.
Like it's not just that DNA. So the point of panspermia isn't that like DNA could happen in space, because it really doesn't.
No. It's that it thrives.
But the things that make DNA a happenable event can happen in space. The combination of certain nucleotides, the different.
Well, I'm just going to stop you. You're doing a great job explaining this. For the Ferd F2000 driver, panspermia means that the life on Earth was seeded from extraterrestrial life beginnings.
Like the seeds of it, not
seeds of it, not life.
It's not
the seeds of life.
It's not that like somebody came to Earth.
Maybe even life, like, single-celled organism, amoeba type life. Maybe we're stretching. We're into science fiction.
I don't think that's even.
We're into science fiction.
Yeah,
doing amoeba life, but seeds of life.
Certain kinds of self-reproducing chemical chains could have formed in space.
Protein and carbon.
Yeah. Those things, they could have, the building blocks for those things, this is panspermia, are already available in space, and it seems...
in abundance.
It seems likely that, when a star forms a solar disk, there's going to be enough variable stuff there that just common motion is going to cause these different things to interact enough.
You're good at this stuff. Do you know the name of the theory that says, where are they? if space is made of the little same materials that make life.
I do.
And there's an infinite amount of stars and an infinite amount of planets. Where is everyone? That's the premise of the fucking theory, but I can't think of the guy's name.
It's oh man, it's
because I think I have the answer to it. I know I'm an idiot.
It's like
with a microphone, but I think I have the answer to it.
It's not the Fermi paradox, but
Fermi paradox. That's what it is.
Is it the Fermi?
It's the Fermi paradox. You nailed it. The answer to the Fermi paradox is they're sitting on their fucking planets wondering the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
space is really big.
They're doing the Gleep Glop paradox, and it's the same fucking paradox.
Same thing. Where's
so anyway, Bob,
because in the grand scheme of things, the universe is only 14 billion years old. And I say only.
Which is perhaps untrue.
As far as
it could be 6,000 years old.
Oh, God. If you say that again, I will launch over the table at you.
It could also be significantly older.
Which is a theory I'm willing to entertain.
13 billion years old is...
14.5 was the number that I had committed to memory.
That could potentially be the only part that we can detect. It's like...
that's where it comes from. That's as far back as we can see.
Right.
Speed of light, math, equals 14.5.
Right. The thing about science is it's never right.
And it's much...
But it's
more than I can
certainly
understand.
More predictive than religion.
You think? Well, that was that conversation too. I don't know how we got where we are, but
I was trying to talk about a book that I really enjoyed.
Legion.
We are Legion. We are Bob. So Bob goes.
Fucking Bob.
Bob goes and
Bob with bitch tits.
No, not that Bob.
I like that Bob.
Different Bob.
Meatloaf.
He's dead, man. His name was Robert Paulson.
Robert Paulson, the writer of the books, the author, Robert Paulson?
No, Bob with the bitch tits. His name was Robert Paulson. He was killed in a raid, and the chant in Fight Club was his name was Robert Paulson.
Oh, because like it was Meatloaf. Okay,
Dog, you can't bring up Fight Club anymore.
In canon,
you're not allowed until you watch that movie again.
I didn't understand that we were.
No, you lost your Fight Club card.
Fuck you.
No.
You can keep the goddamn Fight Club card. You can take the terrible fucking movie and keep the card. That's right, I said it. Overrated fucking movie.
It does demonstrate how angry white guys are.
That's me. Hater potato. At hater potato.
So Bob goes and watches. He's at a sci-fi convention in Las Vegas, and he goes and watches he watches a panel. It's called Exploring the Galaxy, and the two guest stars are somebody talking about Van Neumann probes and somebody talking about Panspermia. Bob leaves and he goes home and he calls his parents and he calls his family, and everything's great. It's just setting up the stage for Bob. Bob walks out the next morning on his way to go visit the con, plowed by a car, murdered, dead. Luckily,
this terrible. This story sucks, Stacey.
Bob bought insurance with a cryogenesis company.
Oh, okay.
So they freeze Bob. And the next scene after he's hit by the car is Bob wakes up
20,000 years in the future.
No, 117 years in the future.
All right.
It's 2133.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
I was going to piss on you for interrupting me yet again, but that one was perfect. So Bob wakes up and he's like, he panics, but he realizes that like it's a purely intellectual panic. His lungs he's not breathing harder. His heart rate's not anything. In fact, he can't feel either. He's just suddenly aware, and he starts taking measurements. All right, I'm in a room. I can see that I'm looking at a wall. And
time for data retrieval.
What has happened is in the time since the present day, like
117 years.
Since the time Bob died in 2000 pre-20.
Now.
But right about now, Bob dies.
Now. Bob's dead now.
113 years in the future, Bob wakes up and he finds out that he is software with no rights. Oh, when he signed up for that insurance, he like put his money in a trust and everything so that in the event of his death, he could be revived and be rich because of the accrued interest on his trust. And what happened in the interim is an evangelical right-wing president took over the country and the entire globe turned into strife as a result of his poor economic challenges.
Because God was going to just handle it all.
And God didn't.
God was going to provide, Stacey.
So,
a non-believer.
So Bob wakes up and he's looking at this scientist, this doctor, whatever his name is, and
Golden Split.
And no, he's definitely not Jewish. Bob finds out that he is now not a human being; he is software. And the rest of the book is about how Bob's
reverse Jarvis.
Bob's job now is to
Bob's job
is to outcompete the other 4 contestants in the Live Forever race.
Right? Like
there was other people who had sold them. They sold their corpses into cryo. They bought insurance.
This is like a weird Tron meets.
You got to let me go with it just a second so I can get to where it's going.
This is weird.
Yes, it is. It's very weird, but boy, it's cool. And I'd like to tell you about it. Bob has to compete against 5 other people like Bob, and they have a 20% success rate for not going crazy.
All right.
They generally just are like, oh my God, that means that you murdered me and now I'm just a piece of software and I'm no longer myself.
You were already just a piece of software.
That's an opinion, and it's not one that I disagree with, but it is right. It's something. If you found yourself in
I'm trying to carry on the conversation without interrupting you.
Bro, if you found yourself in computer hardware, you would have an existential crisis.
I'm sure I'd pretty be upset about it.
And you could very easily lose your mind.
All right.
Especially when you find that you wake up in a political dystopia. That's the you know who's funding?
Fuck.
Do you know who's funding?
This is a weird podcast Donald Trump analogy that is built here.
Bro, I'm telling you, you got to read this book.
I uploaded my consciousness to the internet when I started becoming a podcaster. And now I woke up in dystopia. I'm reading the book. I'm on it.
So they wake him up and he finds out that he's a piece of software and he's pretty sure that he's going to be consigned to driving a garbage truck or something as a piece of software. But it turns out that he's going to be sent into space to search the galaxy because they've discovered this new technology that allows them to go long distances. And so an arms race of science has happened. And as soon as they launch Bob, Armageddon happens. They launch, Bob is the triggering event.
This is Krypton.
No, it's better than Krypton. It is so much. So Bob leaves the. I want to move forward because I don't want to spoil.
I'm trying.
I don't want to spoil the story, but I do want to move it ahead. So Bob gets loaded onto the spaceship, and the spaceship leaves Sol, and he's got to go to this star system nearby. It's not Alpha Centauri. It's Proxima. It's not Proxima Centauri either.
Proxima B.
It's not that. No, he goes to I can't think of the name of it, but he goes to no spoilers. Perfect. He goes to another star system.
Alpha Centauri from Proxima B.
And what happens is another Earth country sends a probe after him that is armed.
The Soviets.
And no, the Brazilians.
What?
Dude, you got to understand, it's 130 years in the future.
All right, fine.
The Brazilians go after him with an armed machine, and he is not armed. Their probe is armed. His probe is not. He's got to figure out what to do about that, but he's capable because he's A, a software engineer, and B, also a computer.
Also software.
It is such a good way. So he goes
if you're software and a software engineer, are you God?
Kind of a little bit. Bob's got an advantage because Bob is a very analytical thing. Plus, dude, so the way they handle space travel in this accounts for time dilation. It accounts for relativity in such a easily understandable way. So it's 13 years Earth time at the velocities that Bob will be traveling, but it's 3 years for Bob. Earth sends the Brazilian Empire sends another ship after him
I'm calling Ed. The Brazilian Empire. Okay.
The other ship signals to Earth that it can only accelerate at 1.5 Gs. So their drive, it's not like warp 10, it's an acceleration factor. So Bob initially can accelerate at up to 2.5 Gs, which means that this is hard to comprehend how it works, but it's really fun science. It's like, so gravity is not like the downward force that we were taught it was. What it really is a momentum upward force. It's a pushing force. Gravity pushes you up at something like 14.3 meters per second. So if you can be accelerating at 2 Gs, you're accelerating, your speed increases by 29 meters per second in the first second. And then in the second second, it increases by twice that. And then in the third second by thrice that. And it's exponential, and they go really, really fast. You get to light speed. You get approximately to light speed. You never get to light speed, but you get very, very close to light speed when you're going that, when your acceleration force is that high. And when you approach light speed, relativity demonstrates, as GPS uses, when you're going close to light speed, you have time dilation effects. So when Bob is traveling,
time dilation happens at any speed, but at light speed, it's noticeable.
So Bob travels 13 years Earth time, but 3 years Bob time to get to the planet, the star system that he's going to. And he finds out that there's, like, first off, he's facing against all kinds of adversity. But he eventually does start replicating himself, and himselves are different than himselves.
It's multiplicity.
It's Rick and Morty, except for instead of the Rickiverse, it's the Bobiverse. This is actually what it's called.
Okay. All right. Wait, hold on.
Instead of
I'm grabbing the red handle here. Hold on.
Instead of having different Ricks.
With writing like that, we might have to...
The Citadel of Ricks is a place where Ricks from various dimensions meet together. But in this story, you have Bob, who is not a multi-dimensional creature. He's a
self-replicatable.
He's self-replicatable, and he develops some rules immediately before he even starts.
All software is
like,
based
here's the
on rules.
Here's the rules. The oldest Bob in the district is the leader.
Is ruling Bob. Boss Bob.
Any Bob has to immediately...
Joyce, write down Boss Bob.
Any Bob has to immediately choose a new name, a new first name. So there's Riker. Yep.
William or Thomas.
So these Bobs don't have physical bodies. They are software on a spaceship.
Star Trek.
But they build a user interface for themselves, which is VR, where they use a human body. Like they use, one of them is Homer. Riker makes a copy of himself to go back to Earth with, because nuclear annihilation happens. And Riker wants to go check out what happened at Earth. And none of the original, Riker's one of the first Bob clones. There's 5.
All right. So there's Bob. And then there's like Riker and his 4 brothers.
Bob makes 5. He makes Riker and 3 others. Bill, Mario, and another guy.
So where did Bill come from? Because we know where Riker and Mario came from.
He makes it very clear in the text.
Okay.
And I don't know the reference.
Okay. I thought you might know.
I do, but I don't know who it is, so it didn't stand out.
Because we know where Riker and Mario come from.
It's
clearly
a factual person in history.
There had to have been a reference. If it was William T. Riker got a nod and Mario got a nod.
So Riker makes a clone, and Bill makes a clone. Bill's clone is Garfield, and they're going to stay behind at this first place that Bob went to start building.
They're going to settle here.
It's the first place we went. We're going to start building it up.
So we're going to leave Generation 2 and Generation 3 here to keep moving on.
No, Riker is Generation 2.
And his Garfield is 3.
Riker stays, and Garfield,
really confusing already.
Garfield and Homer get made at the same time.
They're third generation, though, right?
Garfield and Homer
come from Bob's second.
They come from Riker and Bill.
Okay.
And Homer uses the cartoon avatar of Homer Simpson because I heard the name and I was like, oh, Homer's Odysseus. Nice. That makes sense. No, he's Homer Simpson.
Yeah, Riker and Mario.
And the Riker character, his ship, his bridge looks like the bridge of the Enterprise.
Of course it does.
And whenever you switch to his perspective,
Bob was our age when this happened.
Whenever you switch to his perspective, it's William Riker. It's a captain's log.
He's got the leg up. He's doing the star date.
He tells it like a captain's log. Meanwhile,
what you're telling me is Bob. I am Bob. I am Legion. I am Bob. Was our age when this happened.
Oh yes.
Okay.
No, it's brand new. This came out 2016.
No.
But yes,
this storyline, Bob
grew up
was
with
about
us.
Our age.
Bob grew up with us.
Yeah.
Oh, he was 31.
My age then. I mean, I'm 33, but
yeah,
awfully close.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you. So he's got this computer assistant. It initially is like a software put into his software called Guppy, which gives his personality access to computing power. Guppy. When he starts to build his VR, all Guppies everywhere are Admiral Akbar.
It's a trap.
Yes, that Admiral Akbar.
He's a fish. See what they did there? He's a space fish.
You have got to listen to.
I'm going to have to. Like, I haven't gotten to Ready Player One yet, but I will listen to this
Listen to this one first. This one's got more for you. And it's a series. There's more than one book in the Bobiverse.
See, now we're talking.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I like to go. I like to crank along at a thing.
I didn't know that because I was purposely trying to avoid series because I wanted to just have a one-off good time.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I like a good series. I want to be invested in this thing for a while.
So that book, for anybody who's trying to keep track, that book is Ready Player One.
No.
By Roger Klein and the Peacemakers.
Sure. Okay. Yes, it is.
And I am at C. Payne Run.
At Spacely Cog.
We'll see.
AirWreckRadio.com.
Again, they heard that things were happening. With mics in front of faces, their lips begin a flapping. They talk about the world and local news reports, and if it's a week, they may even hear some sports. They'll tell you all about the fall of Western civilization, the popularization of deregulation, of conspiratory allegory wars, and what we're losing when you're cruising through the news. The truth can be a bit elusive. Cory says, man, it's a goddamn joke. It's quid pro quo de facto, this democracy's a hoax. Some say the system's rigged, it's supposed to be. That's how they keep the power in dichotomocracy. Stacey says we gotta learn to think a little deeper. The symptoms of our problems hide the causes from our peepers. The merchants hook out, try to obfuscate the truth, doing whatever they can to keep the future from our youth. In these troubled times, it's hard to know just what to do, but if you stick around, we'll try to help to get you through. So go get a bowl, a spoon, and some cereal, and sit yourself down. It's time for AirWreckRadio.
It is the 15th day of December in the year 2017. I'm Cory. And this is AirWreckRadio. Thank you for joining us yet again, our loyalist of Wreckheads. And we know you are the loyalist of Wreckheads because we are El Pato fucking Casto.
I'm here too.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
I thought I was doing another one of those introducing a clip show.
I froze, man. I didn't have anything.
I just, you know how many times I've done that intro and paused for the couch gag that wasn't there because you weren't with me when I was recording production.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. That's why I was able, I can beat it out perfectly.
Yeah, I had nothing for this one. I'm sorry to tell you.
Silence works, bro.
Here's the thing, man. Coming up with couch gags is hard, and I was really really focused on making sure that I was able to put our best foot forward with Rachel tonight on the radio show.
Good thing that all the technology worked out for us.
Yes, thank you, Facebook.
Thank you, technology. We're top of our broadcasting game, and the technology breaks down.
Thanks, Facebook. You did a great job there of failing 3 times during like the most important interview
we've done on the radio.
We've ever done on the radio. Like, we're really looking forward to this. And the interview went great.
Yeah, went wonderfully.
With any luck, we will be able to recover the audio. Listeners,
listen, it's a good thing that we were in the situation we were in, because I was able to chase the problem during the show and get what we have. Because if those problems,
what the fuck you were doing.
If those problems had happened during just one of our shows on the radio, no, nothing. We'd have no audio, we'd have no video, we'd have nothing.
I was wondering the entire time
why I kept having to bounce back and forth.
What you were doing, because
shit was breaking down, bro.
Yeah, because you like I was like, oh man, Cory's really letting me run this, but then you were moving around so much. It was like Cory's really trying to look busy.
No, he's not. Cory's actually busy and thankful Stacey's running this right now.
I was looking forward to that interview so much.
At some point, I don't know if the listeners will notice. You certainly, I know you noticed. At some point, I had gotten everything figured out. I gotten all the tech under control and everything rolling, and I was able to join the conversation.
I did notice when you came back, I was like, okay, whatever Cory was pretending to do must be done by now.
And I came back and joined the conversation.
It was a good interview, listeners. I hope that you get the audio. For the listeners who don't, for the listeners who don't know who Rachel Barnhart is, Rachel Barnhart.
Shame on you.
Well, they might not be local, and if you're not local, you're not going to know her, because she's very local, very active person. She's a former newscaster on a local ABC affiliate. She runs a website called Rochester for All, which is a PAC that's
getting political action committee.